Guys, a lot of people who don't own Teslas routinely say Tesla's autopilot or full self-driving. They say it's terrible, doesn't work, it causes accidents, causes crashes. I know this for a fact because the media has told me this. Now, this may or may not be true, but it is becoming a common occurrence for Tesla owners when they have a crash. Don't get me wrong, not all of them do this, but many of them, when they have a crash, as we know, is exactly what happened in China with that crazy lady who stood on the top of her car and made all this publicity in China and was actually convicted of fraud later on. We know that this is a common occurrence. Many Tesla owners, not all of them, but many of them are blaming Tesla when they have an accident, saying, no, it was autopilot. It was full self-driving. It wasn't me. And then it turns out in court, they're losing and sometimes doing this. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's worth pointing out, guys, a lot of people don't believe Tesla. When Tesla says, this is our crash report. So when people are using autopilot full self-driving, this is how many accidents occur. Tesla actually released that information. A lot of people don't believe this stuff. They think it's all fake. I routinely see comments like this, especially from Australians, on articles talking about this stuff, and Australians like, oh, this is all bullshit. This is bullshit, Tesla. I've seen the news. I've seen the news, mate. Mate, in the news, every Tesla crashes when the autopilot's on. Everyone's dying. Everyone's crashing, mate. This is the kind of thing, not a lot of Australians, but a lot of Australians will make these kinds of comments. And it's because, unfortunately, primarily, not completely, but mostly because people are lying about it. And to be honest, guys, this is an indictment on modern society, isn't it? I said to my son today, he was playing rugby and he blamed someone else. He's a good kid, he's a good kid, but he blamed someone else for him doing a bad throw. And I said, Jack, it's very important to accept responsibility when you make a mistake. I said, your life will be way better if you're able to do that. Don't blame anyone else when you make a mistake. Just admit, yes, I can do better next time and I'll do better. Now, unfortunately, a lot of Australians, a lot of people in the world are doing the opposite to that. They're trying to blame someone else for when they make a mistake, like this lady here. Now, this lady here is a lot like the lady, and don't get me wrong, it's not just ladies doing this. I'm not saying it is, but this lady is a lot like the crazy woman in China who stood on top of her car, defaced it, went to all these public events, and it was reported on by news media at least 1 million times on numerous different days, because this lady just tried to sabotage Tesla in every way she could possibly imagine. And I mean, everyone saw these articles, but no one really remembers the fact that she was convicted of fraud, of lying, and that actually she wasn't driving for one, her father was, and he was driving way above the speed limit. He was driving incredibly fast, and basically they admitted that no, autopilot wasn't on. It was nothing to do with the car. It's nothing to do with any faults in the car. It was their mistake. Well, recently a Tesla owner here in Australia who crashed into a pedestrian and falsely blamed the vehicle's autopilot feature pled guilty to dangerous driving and failing to stop. Now, she originally in court blamed Tesla. She said, no, Tesla's autopilot was on. I had nothing to do with it. It was all Tesla's fault. This was not my fault. She had a Tesla Model 3. I believe her name was Sakshi Agrawal. And she struck a nurse called Nicole Lagos, who was on her way to work and had stepped onto the road to board a tram. So here in Australia, if there's a tram, which is trams, I don't know if you know what they are. So guys, put a video of a tram so everyone knows in America or in Europe, you know what a tram is. If you don't know what they are. Anyway, you're meant to stop for them. So the fact that she kept driving meant that she wasn't paying attention. This person stepped off a tram. If you're in a car, you're meant to stop when the tram stops, and then you won't kill anyone. But she's obviously gone, no, I'm in a hurry. I'm not going to do that. And she's hit someone just before 6:30 a.m. This actually happened in Melbourne. And I obviously grew up in Melbourne. I lived there almost all of my life. Crash analysis revealed that she did not slow down before hitting Miss Lagos, who was struck at 60 kilometers an hour and suffered life-threatening injuries after being thrown at about 10 meters. So she was hit really hard. What she did was try to beat the tram, said the lawyers in the case, who obviously was successful in prosecuting her. The court was told that she sped from the scene in a panic. So she drove away in a panic, but the 25-year-old eventually returned to the crash site. She obviously realized that there would have been footage of her driving there and decided, well, a hit and run will get me even more jail time. She told investigators it was dark on the morning of the crash after she had switched on the car's autopilot mode, relying on the vehicle to take care of braking. Agrawal told police that Miss Lagos jumped in front of the car, meaning it was too late for the autopilot system to detect a pedestrian or for her to brake. Police analysis of Tesla's telemetry and steering inputs revealed inconsistencies with her story. Just 30 seconds before the crash, the autopilot feature was not switched on. Further, a vulnerable road user was detected and the car triggered alerts for a potential collision. So not only was the autopilot not switched on, but Tesla could prove the car triggered alerts to say there was a potential collision and she needed to stop, which she obviously wasn't listening to or ignored or whatever. Police said there was no record the brake was applied at all, and the data revealed she actually was speeding at 78 kilometers an hour. She was actually going 80 kilometers an hour in an area where you're only meant to go 50. So she was driving very fast. Now, she actually admitted to the court that she made a false claim and lied about Tesla's autopilot feature being turned on. She admitted that it wasn't. The reality is, she was trying to rationalize her own conduct, said the lawyer, trying to explain the inexplicable and how she could do such a thing. So that's what her lawyer said. Anyway, in Victoria, you have to stay behind a tram. Basically, when its driver indicates that it's slowing down. So there's a way to know that this is happening, and so she would have known this was happening and obviously decided not to do so. Now, the victim, in an emotional statement, she described being confused when she woke in hospital, so she was completely knocked out and was unable to remember anything from the crash. She said the incident has left her with permanent disabilities, including brain damage. In addition to that, she believes that she'll be unable to walk, find a life partner, or start a family due to the injuries that she suffered. Every time I pass a car or see a tram, it's a reminder that this has happened to me, she said. Now, the disappointing part about all of this is that the woman driving spent 2 years fighting these charges and lying about the situation, which caused serious injury, not only to the person who was hit, who is the most important here, but also to Tesla, to people believing Tesla's vehicles were unsafe, when actually they're the safest cars based on the actual crash test safety scores on Tesla's safety system's ability to get around these, to stop these issues from happening, to prevent not only your personal safety while driving that car, but also the safety of pedestrians. And so she's basically lied in court for 2 years and then finally at the end admitted that she'd lied and now been convicted. Guys, the truth here is, a lot of these cases, probably not all of them, but a lot of these cases when people say autopilot or full self-driving was at fault, a lot of the time, it's actually not. Thanks for watching.